The Truth Girls.
Hi everyone, Sonia here, and I want to tell you a little story about how I quit smoking, and actually also what God taught me through this experience. So I actually quit smoking only like a little over a month ago. I know probably a lot of you are going to be like, oh Sonia, I thought you were a Christian. I had no idea you smoked cigarettes. Like, how does that make any sense? Well, that's why I'm going to tell you the story. I became a Christian, a long time ago, more than 25 years ago. And at the beginning there, when I became a Christian, I did quit smoking. I also was freed from addiction, and I had other issues, and God really just cleaned up my life. So actually, when I first got clean, including cigarettes, I was a self-righteous ex-smoker. And I would be the person who'd say to people like, oh, you smoked, you know how bad that is for your body and you should quit and blah, blah, blah. That was me. And then some really rough things happened in my life. I ended up actually using drugs again for a few years, and I also went back to smoking cigarettes. I recommitted my life to God, it was about 19 years ago, and that's when I got clean for good. But I wasn't able to give up the cigarettes. And this was something that, troubled me for a long time. I mean, believe me, I did not feel good about it. I really, really wanted to quit smoking, and it was I couldn't do it. Every time I try to quit smoking, I get really angry, I get really spaced out. And see, the thing was, when I quit using drugs, it was God who did it. I'm convinced that it was divine intervention. God just took it away from me so that I didn't crave drugs anymore. See, because I was not strong. There was nothing about me that was especially strong-willed. I didn't do it on willpower. I mean, yes, I decided to clean up, but God made it possible for me. Because all of a sudden, I just didn't want it anymore, and it didn't bother me that when I went through withdrawal and whatever, my mind was clear, and I really felt like God just did it for me. And after that, all these years, I have never craved drugs. The reason I don't do drugs is because I have no desire to do drugs. It's easy for me. So someone who does drugs doesn't need to look at me and be like, wow, Sonia, you're really strong because you've been clean for 19 years or whatever. Wow, how did you do it? I didn't do it. God did it. God just took it away, I guess. I mean, yes, God took it away. I have no desire to use, okay? Let me just be honest with you. There have been a few times where for some dumb reason I got the idea oh, maybe I'll go do some drugs. And then when I did the drugs, it was just it sucked. I mean, the place I was in, it was just I was what am I doing here? And the drugs themselves, it just sucked. And I didn't want to do more. So I really felt like it was God who did that. So I was always why won't you do that for me with cigarettes, Lord? I cleaned up my life, and I give my life to you. And I want to live right, and I don't want to have this bad habit, and I feel so bad about it and ashamed. Well, please take it away. I prayed and prayed for so many years. So I was praying for it, and people who saw me smoking, of course, they often had something to say about it, and they'd be like, you got to quit smoking. And I'd be like, well, you know what? I'm waiting for the day when God makes me quit smoking, enables me to just quit. I want God to do this for me. Actually, I have faith that one day God's just gonna make it that I just don't want to smoke anymore. And I want it to be super easy. I want God to do it, not me, because I can't do it. Lord's got to do it. People were like, Sonia, you're dreaming, you can't take this attitude, you got to set a quit date, you have to set your mind to it, you got to white knuckle it, all these things. And I was like, no, Lord's gonna do it for me. One day, I have the faith, He will do it. And so then it was about a month ago, there was one of the church members was doing the message that week, and it was from Romans, and he was talking about people being vegetarian because they feel they shouldn't eat meat for God, And in Romans it says that if your faith is weak, you feel like you have to abstain from eating animals. But if your faith is strong, you know that you don't have to do any of that. You're saved by grace through your faith. So you can eat whatever you want, but it did say, though, if you're with someone else and your eating meat causes them to stumble in their faith, then abstain from eating meat when you're around them. So basically, so you don't screw them up, because they're going to be like, oh man, this guy's eating meat. How does this work? No. Like, you know, it's going to just mix them up. But the message there was, there's no condemnation in whatever you did. And I was thinking, you know what? Yeah, Lord, there's no condemnation in the fact that I smoke. Like, I don't feel good about it. It's a bad habit, but I'm not condemned for it. But please, I want to quit smoking. I can't stand it anymore. Not like I was a heavy smoker, but still. I went home. The next day I got up in the morning, and I don't usually smoke, like, didn't usually smoke right when I'd get up. It'd be like an hour or two later, oh, I think I'll have a cigarette. And that day it had been about an hour and a half, and when I'd usually have my normal cigarette. And I just thought, no, I don't want it. It's just going to make me tired. And I don't want it. I don't want a cigarette. And I thought, oh, is the Lord finally delivering me from this? Like, I was excited. I was like, yes, I think so. Yes, Lord, you're doing it for me. Thank you so much. And I didn't smoke. And then like the hours rolled by, and like sometimes I was like, oh, I could go for a smoke, but then I was like, nah, I don't need it. I just didn't need it. It was like super easy. I just didn't want to smoke. I did have some nicotine gum though. And the hours turned into days, and before I knew it, it was a whole week, and then it was like 10 days, and it just kept going. I mean, there was one problem, which was that I became like, I had really bad ADD, like to the point where it was debilitating. After like a week and a half, I couldn't get it together. I didn't know I probably do have ADD, but I didn't know it because I guess with the stimulant, so that was a big problem, and eventually I got a vape. So I'm using some nicotine replacement, but I've had vapes before lots of times, and nicotine gum and things like that, and it never worked for me before. But this time with the nicotine gum and a vaporizer a bit, I was able to just like get rid of it, So anyway, I was really, really grateful, and I knew that God had finally done it for me. That like I was just done with the tobacco. And I thought about, why did God do that? Why did it take 20-something years? I think I smoked for 23 years. Why 23 years of me smoking before God delivered me from it? And I know why. God was trying to teach me something. See, when I first became a Christian and I didn't smoke, not only was I a self-righteous ex-smoker, but I also judged other people. I judged other Christians. I remember there was a girl in our church who smoked, and I remember saying to some people, what is it with Christians who smoke? Do they not love God? And what happened was, afterwards, when I relapsed with cigarettes, and I was a smoking Christian, I realized that I was learning humility. I was learning what it is not to judge other people, because all those years that I did smoke tobacco, I still loved God. I gave God my life. I put everything in God's hands. I just wanted to serve God with all my heart, and still I was smoking. But I was a Christian. I was saved. I did receive the Holy Spirit, and still I was smoking. So it showed me that you can be a Christian and not be perfect. It was like God was like, you're going to learn to be humble. I'm going to make sure, and you're never going to judge anyone else ever again. And you're not going to look at that one and be like, oh, she eats too many donuts, or oh, like he did this or that, or what. You're just not going to judge, because you're going to understand what it means to be a Christian. It doesn't mean that you're perfect. Maybe you eat too many donuts. Maybe you smoke cigarettes. That's not what makes you a Christian or doesn't make you a Christian. So that was a really important lesson to me, and I wanted to share that with you. And I want to thank God for delivering me from tobacco, but I give God all the credit. It wasn't me, and it's not because I'm a better Christian or a better person, and I'll never judge anybody, never. I guess God really, really wanted me to learn this lesson, because it took a really long time before he delivered me. It was like it took all that time for me to understand, there's no condemnation, including something that you might have done, like that you might do, like smoke cigarettes. You are not condemned for it. And B, don't judge. Anyway, so that's the thing. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, and it's just because of God, and I'm not perfect. Nobody is. And yes, Lord, I've learned my lesson, and thank you for delivering me from the tobacco. So that was how it was. And yes, I use nicotine and I use vaporizer, and that really helped a lot. Although on its own, like I tried many times, And even with nicotine, I could not quit smoking. But with Jesus, I could. So that's it. I just want to share this with you. I hope it's encouraging to you. And thank you for liking this video. Thank you for your support on Patreon. Thanks for listening to me. God bless you. And I'll see you next time.